Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady, Mrs. Tina Gornland Nunez, who always takes the opportunity to say very nice things about me. Such a nice lady she is. I'm very pleased indeed to share this platform with my colleagues, the very distinguished Christine Kangaloo, Mrs. Karen Nunez Teixeira, and Mr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, all of whom served in a cabinet that I was pleased to lead, and who, my dear friends, have blossomed from the rookie politicians that they were when they first came into experienced politicians that they are today. And I'm also in debt to all of you this evening for turning out in such large numbers. We didn't realize that the forum would have turned out to be as popular as it has turned out to be, and that we had to be very careful to ensure that certain categories of people are not included. Not that we're excluding anybody, but it's an internal meeting, and we assured all our speakers that the press would not be present. Any members from the press here? Just testing, that's all. Not trying to disenfranchise anybody, ladies and gentlemen, but we are seeking to be very careful in the way we conduct our political business. And this series of meetings is the brainchild of our education officer, Mr. Kevin Perez, and approved by our constituency executive, and held consistent with the stated objective of our political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, and members of the newly elected executive of the People's National Movement. What we are seeking to do is to keep our electorate informed and educated, and keep our political party together. That's what our objective is. And in fact, this evening it was my pleasure to specially invite our deputy political leader, Legislative Ms. Marlene MacDonald, to attend our forum today. She couldn't do it because today is caucus, and she is the chairman of the caucus. So unfortunately, she's asked to be excused from the forum. And Mrs. Jo Newell Williams, another deputy political leader, who incidentally hails from San Fernando East, is likely to be here a little later. But my dear friends, what a pleasure it is to see members of the PNM family gathered once again in this way. It is unfortunate that the reason why we've come together in the first instance was a major transgression on the part of someone in whose hands were placed the authority for a very high office and an office of trust in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, but we'll come to that in a minute. I'd like to begin by drawing your attention to the fact that President Ben Ali of Tunisia is no more, that President Hosni Mubarak of Egypt is no more, that today there is a delegation of the African Union in Tripoli in Libya talking with Colonel Gaddafi and seeking to mediate a position that will bring a ceasefire to what is taking place in Libya, as one group of people seek to bring about social and political change in the country, being resisted by the incumbent in office, who had been there for 41 years. And that what you are seeing in the Middle East, what you are seeing in Tunisia, and what you've seen in Egypt, and which is continuing in Egypt incidentally, and in Libya, is also being seen in Yemen, in Bahrain, in Syria, and which I assure you will be seen eventually right across the Middle East, ladies and gentlemen. What are people fighting for? What is the argument? What is the big argument about? Why are people prepared to risk their lives? Because a lot of people have already been killed. Why has the international community decided through the United Nations to get involved in some of these conflicts? Why is it? Because all of them, the international agencies, are in support of the determination of the populations in all of these countries to exercise the right to choose. They want free and fair elections. They want to be able to choose. That's the objective. And they are going to extreme lengths to be able to achieve it. In Trinidad and Tobago, when we do that, we are condemned. In Trinidad and Tobago, in 2010, the question is what he called the election for. Did it strike you, ladies and gentlemen? Did that strike you? That what it cost us nothing in Trinidad and Tobago, a political leader who, concluding that his own leadership had become an issue in Trinidad and Tobago, decided, well, if that is the case, then let the people decide it. Let the people decide it. And the people decided it. So you don't blame the political leader for calling the election. I have one vote. I have one vote, and I voted PNM, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you all in here didn't do that? No, it's okay. So you understand the point. The people have the right to choose. The people have the right to choose. And the proper leadership calls for providing them with that opportunity if it is considered the prudent thing to do. And if we didn't do it, ladies and gentlemen, the only examples we have to go on are the examples in the Middle East at this time. You could see what could have happened to Trinidad and Tobago. And we have a way of saying that God is a Trini, which is very discourteous to Almighty God. Call him something else, not that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, and in so saying, we are trying to say that we are protected and it can't happen here. The one mistake that we in Trinidad and Tobago could make is to assume that it cannot happen in this country. Indeed, my dear friends, it can. And it will if we do not conduct our business in a manner that is designed to prevent it. So that what happens with race relations in Fiji, or what happens with race relations or some other difference in Cyprus or in Northern Ireland or wherever it is, what happened in Guyana in 1965, many of us have this view that this is Trinidad and Tobago. It can't happen here. Can't happen here. My dear friends, sometimes the PNM has been a victim of its own success. That we make governance look so easy that those opposed to us feel that the country is easy to govern. And we've made the point time and time again, Trinidad and Tobago is not. It is a difficult country to govern. A difficult country to govern. And that you can only govern it properly and keep it on an even keel if you understand, my dear friends, that prudence is necessary in the conduct of your public affairs. You can't have biases. You can't have prejudices. If you have biases and prejudices, those things show in the way you conduct your business, and the people aren't stupid, they see it. So if Watson Duke believes that he got away, easy to see, my dear friends. It is easy to see something ain't right. Something is not right. See? Somebody says sell out. Is it sell out or buy out? Which one it is? Yeah. Notice I express no view on the matter. But if you say sell out, you could only say somebody had to buy it. Somebody had to buy it. So it is not Mr. Duke alone, you know. Who buy it? Who buy it, my dear friends? The one thing that has taken a beating in this country with the advent of the People's Partnership Government is morality. Morality has taken a beating in Trinidad and Tobago. There's no question about that. So it is not just in race relations, you see it all over the place. You see it all over the place in almost every aspect of the social and political and economic life of the country. Almost in every aspect of the place. Mr. Nizam Mohammed gets up and talks about. And incidentally, and the newspapers paraphrase what he said, and they did it quite right. Because the gist of what he said is what they talked about. And for the first time in my 40 years in public life, I've heard it put that way. It wasn't that there aren't enough Indians in the leadership of the police service. It wasn't that. It is that there were too many Africans. So it was not in support of any particular group. It was against a group. For the first time in 40 years, I heard it put that way. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, what faces us is indeed a very serious matter. And that is why, you see, as Mustafa Abdul Hamid looked at that policy which Christine Kangaloo very adequately and ably established as the policy of the UNC, and Mr. Abdul Hamid examining the actions in the context of that now clearly identified policy, you begin to see how everything that they do fits into the policy. It is right across the board, my dear friends. It is right across the board. That is why in the general elections, when we addressed you from a platform in Tabagit, you remember it? I asked some questions. What position would Anand Ramlogan get in the government? Remember I asked that? Remember? What position will Devant Maraj get? Remember I asked the question? And I asked what position several people get, because I know who they are. I know that for which they stand, ladies and gentlemen. And your view and our view, the PNM's view and their view, are not one and the same at all. One thing they're good at is telling a lie and repeating it to the point where people begin to accept it as fact. You know the biggest one that they have said? That the SIA was illegal. You know, I hear a lot of PNM people repeating that. The SIA was illegal. To say the SIA was illegal is to say that all government ministries are illegal and government departments are illegal. Because the way we set up programs in this country is it starts off as a program in a government ministry. It starts off as a program in a government ministry. And as it becomes formed and so on, we move to give it a legal complexion, its own separate legal complexion, because as it is established under the legal arrangements for the government ministry or department. There is a legal framework in which all programs are established, my dear friends, whether they have their own legislation or not. There is a legal framework. There are departments of the government. Yet, at the highest levels in this country, the SIA was illegal. And there are some people in the PNM who repeat that. SIA was not illegal, ladies and gentlemen. So let me tell you that. And you all should now gather, and it is being said to such an extent that I imagine that you all will now conclude what I have been doing for the last few months. I take in note. How long it takes before the statute of limitations runs out? It's 6 years. I go have my day in court. It's all right, I ain't wiling nobody. I'm not wiling them. Let them keep saying it. Let the newspapers keep publishing it. Let them publish it. I will have a field day when I start to take action against them all, my dear friends. Field day. You see, because they feel, you know, because you don't say anything, they feel you can't say anything. That's what they feel. My dear friends, this document is the Constitution of the People's National Movement. And at page 3, aims and objectives of the political organization. Aims and objectives. There are 13 of them. Aim and objective number 9, equality of opportunity for all and a career open to talent. That's the first one, number 9. Equality of opportunity for all and a career open to talent. It didn't say equality of opportunity for people who support the PNM. It didn't say equality of opportunity for those of a particular race. It didn't say equality of opportunity for those who look in a certain way, my dear friends. It says that as long as you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, you are guaranteed equality of opportunity, notwithstanding considerations of race, class, creed, or any other physical difference that may separate.